All right. Up to now, we did something that looks like engineering, but it's not. We ran a simple client, we felt that the server becomes slower, and we told ourselves a story. Yes, it's overloaded. But engineering doesn't run on feelings. Engineering runs on numbers. So in this part, we upgrade the lecture from demo to measurement. We introduce a real load client, enhanced load client, not because it's fancy, but because without load generation, you cannot measure anything reliably. And once we measure properly, we get three tools that change everything: P50 for typical latency, P95 for tail latency, what users actually remember, and throughput for system capacity. By the end, you won't say it feels faster. You'll say P95 dropped by X, throughput improved by Y, CPU utilization moved to Z, and here's why. Previously, we used a simple load client, and the result was vibes. It feels slower. It feels faster. That's not engineering. That's guessing. The problem with guessing is that it creates false confidence. You can optimize and make the system worse and still feel good about it. So our goal now is clear. We measure three things: P50 latency and the typical experience, P95 latency and the slow tail and throughput, how many requests per second we actually handle. Once we have these, we can compare architectures honestly. Now, why percentiles? Average latency is a trap. A system can have a good average and still be hated by users. P50 is the median, half the requests faster, half slower. It represents typical experience. P95 is the tail, 95% faster, 5% slower, and that slowest 5% is what users remember. That's where timeouts, rage clicks, and your app is broken comes from. So here's the critical insight. High throughput with terrible P95 is still a bad system. This is why modern engineering talks about tail latency more than averages. Throughput is the other side of the coin. Latency is individual experience. Throughput is system capacity. The formula is simple: total requests divided by total time. If we complete 500 requests in 2 seconds, that's 250 requests per second. Now here's the subtle part. It's possible to increase throughput while making latency worse, especially P95. That's why we always measure both together. A real engineer never celebrates throughput alone. They ask, at what tail latency cost? Now we go practical. Terminal 1, compile and run the server. What matters here is not just it runs, it's that you keep it running while you rerun the client repeatedly. That way the server process stays warm, the JVM is stable, and your results become comparable. Also, this is an important discipline. Change one variable at a time. Keep the server constant while you sweep client load, or keep load constant while you sweep pool size. If you change everything at once, you learn nothing. Terminal 2, compile enhanced load client. This client is not optional. It is the instrument for this lecture, and the job of an instrument is repeatability. Dim input, same measurement approach, comparable results. Also, you should get into the habit, compile once, then run many experiments. The experiments are where learning happens. Here's where students usually make a mistake. They jump to heavy load immediately. Don't. We always start with light load, then medium, then heavy. Why? Because you want to see the curve. Where it behaves well, where it starts bending, and where it collapses. Light load tells you baseline. Medium shows early contention. Heavy reveals saturation and queuing. Run those three commands exactly. Treat them like a lab protocol, because performance work is experimental science. Now we interpret expected behavior. Single-threaded under concurrency is predictable. Latency grows roughly linearly. P95 gets ugly quickly. Throughput caps, and CPU is still mostly idle. That sounds weird to beginners. If CPU is idle, why is it slow? Because the bottleneck isn't compute, it's the architecture. One request blocks all others, so queue formation dominates. That's the key phrase. The server isn't working slowly, it's waiting while forcing everyone else to wait behind it. Now multi-threaded changes the story. At first, latency collapses, because requests can overlap waiting. Throughput increases significantly. GPU rises moderately, and because we're now doing more coordination and serving more work, but then we push harder, P95 starts increasing again. Throughput plateaus, CPU spikes. Why? Because the system hits a new limit. Thread scheduling overhead, queue buildup, and eventually CPU saturation. So this slide teaches the core engineering truth. Threads help until they don't. This slide is the sweet spot lesson. Why too many threads hurt. First, context switching, CPU time wasted switching instead of doing work. Second, memory overhead. Every thread has a stack. Third, contention. Locks, queues, shared resources, then we connect it to a sizing rule. Optimal threads, cores X, 1 plus, weight compute. This is not a magic formula, it's a starting point. A hypothesis you test with measurement, and that's the engineering loop. Estimate, measure, adjust. This slide is where I get strict. You must submit a measurement table with P50, P95, throughput, at least 3 pool sizes tested, because one test is not evidence. A CSV export, because numbers without raw data are not trustworthy, and a short engineering explanation. This is how I'm training you, not to produce code, but to produce arguments backed by data. This table is the heart of your submission, light, medium, heavy, and for each P50, P95 throughput. If the table is empty, there is no credit. Because the purpose of the lab is measurement, not compilation. Think of it like a physics lab. If you don't record measurements, you didn't do the experiment. These questions force you to explain, not just report numbers. Why did latency drop with threads? Because we overlapped waiting. We stopped wasting idle time. Why did P95 increase under heavy load? Because queuing and overhead dominate tail behavior. Why didn't throughput grow infinitely? Because you hit hardware and scheduling limits. Was it I/O bound or CPU bound? Your CPU usage and the shape of your curve will tell you, and I'm requiring engineering language, queue, overlap, scheduling overhead, saturation, because vague explanations are useless in industry. This is the synthesis. Concurrency hides waiting, it does not create CPU power, tail latency exposes overload, and measurement drives architecture decisions. This is why performance engineering is not about optimism. It's about disciplined observation. If you cannot measure it, you cannot engineer it. Everything else is storytelling. And now we move to the next big trap. So far, threads were independent. They didn't share state. But in real software, threads share mutable state. Counters, caches, session maps, queues. Yet once they share state, new problems appear, race conditions, visibility problems, deadlocks. So next lecture, we'll attack that reality. We'll take concurrency from speed tool to correctness risk. Let me close with the real lesson here. Most people learn concurrency as a trick. Add threads, get speed. That's beginner thinking. Senior thinking is, what are we optimizing? Typical latency, tail latency, throughput. Where is the bottleneck? Waiting, CPU, scheduling, locks. What evidence supports my decision? That's why Enhanced Load Client is not just a utility. It is the difference between guessing and engineering. In your careers, the person who wins isn't the one with the cleverest code. It's the one who can produce a measurement-backed argument and defend it. Next lecture, we'll keep threads, but now we'll make them share state. And we'll see why concurrency is as much about correctness as it is about performance.